If you consider yourself a nice guy, and by nice guy I mean you say yes when you want to say no, you people please, you put everybody else's needs ahead of yours, you probably suppress anger, you want to be the good guy to everybody else. So you say yes, you do everything that everybody asks, and then you get resentful, you get frustrated, maybe even you struggle to make decisions, to have the confidence to make decisions or pick a direction and opt for things like, whatever you want, babe, up to you. I don't mind, your call. I'm easy. Just go with the flow. And that's something that you recognize you want to change. Maybe it's creating the distance in your marriage. You feel like the polarity, the attraction, the spark is gone. You feel more like roommates managing schedules and logistics and kids than actual excited lovers. Or maybe you're just not as confident. You don't feel authentic in yourself as the way you'd like. And the fact that you've landed on this video, you probably identify as a nice guy. And I'm going to break down exactly what a nice guy is and what we can do about it so that you never have to be a nice guy again. So after being a nice guy, after being a reactive nice guy, nearly destroyed my marriage, I now help men to outgrow those nice guy patterns and lead their lives with grounded presence. And so if you've used the term nice guy, you may have read Dr. Robert Glover's book, No More Mr. Nice Guy. And it's a phenomenal book, right? Everyone that has read it has thought, holy shit, this guy has been inside my head. That's what I was thinking. That's what I did. That's what happened. Like, how has he been there? And he does a phenomenal job at explaining that lived experience, and as well as, where it came from, where it was birthed, and then also giving some prompts on what to do about it. The one thing that I disagree with Robert on is that we have to be a forever recovering nice guy. I fundamentally disagree with it. I fucking won't have it, because I do not believe that we should have to consciously use this effort and this energy to have to say no just when we want to, right? It should come naturally. We should be able to have hard conversations and be grounded and safe in them. We should be able to lead ourselves and our wives and our kids and people in our space from grounded masculine presence. We should be able to express and feel anger and all emotions and not have to worry about being liked and approved and validated by everybody else because we can't do it for ourselves. I reject that. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through what a nice guy actually is and what you can do about it to solve it permanently. So if you've read the book, you may identify as a nice guy. You say, I'm a nice guy. I want to give you a separation on that, because nice guy is a label that is not serving you. It's not even anything tangible, right? A nice guy is a collection of traits. And so when we want to break being a nice guy, we have to look at individual traits instead of the overall label. In the same way that if you want to be more charismatic, where do you start? Well, charismatic is not one skill. It's multiple skills combined for then someone to say, oh, he's very charismatic. Yeah? So the nice guy is made up of most of the traits that I mentioned, right? Says yes when he wants to say no. Puts everybody else ahead of him. Avoids conflict like the plague. Struggles to make decisions or provide direction. Suppresses his anger. Maybe likes to fix his wife's emotions and everybody else first, putting everyone else ahead of him. Ultimately with the goal of, if they're good, I'm good. If they like me, then I'm good. I'm a good boy. And the problem with that is that our worth, our state, our life is in the hands of everybody else telling us yes or no. And when it comes to your marriage, your wife is probably sick of having to give you that permission to be a man, to be okay. And so if you want to take that back, this is where we start. Now, like I said, and the nice guy is multiple traits. And for instance, recognize that each of those traits is a separate part of you, right? Now, if you've ever argued with yourself, you've ever had a conversation with yourself, you've ever said, I just needed to get him out of my own way, things like that, you already recognize that there are multiple parts inside you, inside your mind. We are not just one mind. And so this thinking of having multiple parts then allows us to address each one. And this is not just theory, this is not just some whack person's idea. This is proof. The fact that you just said like, yeah, I argue with myself all the time, I have these conversations. That's a lived experience for everybody. When we understand that, we can then use this to address these parts and then change the systems that they're operating from so that we can no longer be a nice guy. We can operate from the grounded, the adult, the masculine, the, insert whatever label that you're desiring to be here. Now, as a quick exercise, just to prove this for me, I want you to say out loud, I am a nice guy. I am a nice guy. And then notice what you feel in your body. How that feels to say, I am a nice guy. And now again out loud, say, a part of me is a nice guy. A part of me is a nice guy. You feel that separation? You feel that slight bit of distance, right? Because you're no longer identifying as a nice guy. And then if we go a little bit further, a part of me is a people pleaser. A part of me likes to avoid conflict. A part of me struggles to make decisions. And so with each of those parts, we can now work with those to address them so that they are no longer operating in this way that creates the nice guy syndrome. Now, where do these parts come from? Each of these parts was birthed in childhood, our early years, as a protective mechanism. So all of these parts, like everything else within our body, has the same unified goal of looking after us, keeping us alive, keeping us safe. In our early years, we experienced usually a negative emotion, something heightened. Maybe we were embarrassed, we were ashamed, we were put down, we didn't feel loved, whatever the deep emotion. And this protective part of us said, nope, I will not allow you to feel that again. So in order to do that, I will insert trait here. Last time you said no and stood up for yourself, you got embarrassed, you got shut down, you got banished to the corner, you got punished. So I will make sure you say yes and put everybody else first to avoid that emotion moving forward. Last time you got angry, you were punished, you were told that you're a bad boy. Suppress that. That's not good. Next time you feel anger, I'm going to help you to suppress it, to put a smile on your face, to stay calm. And the same type of process, maybe different emotions, different systems, different systems to respond, but the method is the same. And so when we understand this, we can then walk through a process in which allows us to actually change these systems. So think of it this way. These systems that were birthed when we were young are just that. They are systems. They are not trauma. They are not things that you have for the rest of your life. They are just systems that kept you safe as a boy or as a child that are outdated. Because as a child, being loved by your parents and having the roof over your head and having shelter and having their acceptance and their validation is literally life or death. Right? If we don't have that, we have very few other resources to keep us alive in that moment. So our system does what it needs to achieve that love, approval, validation, getting those needs met. Now, as we grow up, we get stronger, we get more resilient, we become adults, we become more resourceful, more competent in the world. Those systems don't update with us, they don't grow with us. They are still operating from the time of inception. They're still operating from that time when you were 7, when you got scolded. They're still operating from that time when you're 11, when you got embarrassed for speaking up. And so that's why when these things come up, even though you're a very competent, capable adult, you feel like a child. You're like, why am I operating that way? Why am I so scared of this happening? I've handled bigger things. I've been through this. I've done that. Why am I still acting this way? Because that part of you still believes you were that age. And so the process here of updating this system is to update that system on your age, on what it's protecting you from, and be able to create a level of trust from the part in you, the adult self, in being able to lead, first of all, the part, And in those moments, handle the emotion that you weren't able to as a child. Like, to show that, you know what, I can handle rejection right now. I'm a fully grown adult. I've got a job, I've got a business, I've got a wife, I'm very capable, I'm very resourceful. I can handle rejection. I can handle people saying no. I can handle, other people not liking me. I can handle these things. And it's not going to be life or death. And as we start to update those systems, the desire to people please, the fear of being rejected, of what happens if someone says no, naturally dissipates. Because we become curious, we become calm, we become confident, we become capable within ourselves, and it's no longer a mask. See, a lot of men will realize that, okay, I need to be calmer, I need to do all these things, but it becomes exhausting, right? It's exhausting trying to be confident, exhausting trying to do all these things, because it's just another mask, and it requires constant effort, constant maintenance. Because it's not embodied. It's not changing at the identity level. And then through this process, through working with these parts, understanding what they were protecting us from, being able to thank them for that role, like genuinely be able to say, I can see what you were trying to protect me from, and thank you. Thank you for doing that. Gives us that compassion, that understanding to relieve them of that burden of that role. And so we no longer need that part to step up to take control in these moments. And the funny thing is, when we have this level of understanding of ourself, of how these parts protect us, of how they show up, the level of compassion and understanding we have in every other human being, in our partners, in our kids, in the people at work, in the people that you interact with, becomes so much deeper, because you can see what was showing up for you in them, and not in a judgmental or a looking down on them kind of way, but from an understanding and a compassionate way. So we take things a hell of a lot less personally. We don't get so upset and reactive when other people are emotional and other things are going on, because we're sure of ourselves, we're authentic in who we are, without needing the validation and the approval of other people. And so this is the path that I've walked. This is what I have done to go from a reactive nice guy. Like, yes, I regulated my nervous system first, and being able to create space that I was able to do this work, but then being able to do this parts work, and naturally being able to stay calm through my wife's emotions. Naturally being able to have a hard conversation without wanting to go into fight, flight, freeze mode, or just leave the building. Naturally being able to say no thanks without excuse, without a story, without worrying about, they're not going to be friends anymore, and all this downstream effects. And I promise you, the level of peace that comes from that, the level of effortlessness that life takes when you're in that confident, authentic self, is an experience that up until this work, I had never experienced myself. And so if you truly want to grow out of the nice guy, if you truly want to stop being a nice guy forever and not just have it as symptoms that you just manage for the rest of your life, this is the work. This is what needs to happen. This is the type of coaching that I do with men. If you want to learn more about that, you can go to my bio and click on the link there. But if nothing else, I hope that this has been helpful for you in understanding the nice guy individual traits, and use that language. I am not a nice guy. A part of me is a nice guy. A part of me wants to avoid this conversation. A part of me wants to say yes when I want to say no. A part of me. So if that resonates and you want to do this work, then find the link in the bio. If nothing else, you're welcome.